Alright, so we are in the Cherokee because I am taking the measurements for. Okay, so let me explain it to you properly here. The shift bezel for the shift gate, sorry, for the NP242 is different, as you can see, from the NP231. So I'm gonna try and modify this one to fit. It looks like it shouldn't take too much to modify it. So, but I want it to measure because it's got a longer throw, right? Want to measure how much extra throw that is. So we got from the very front to the back roughly 20 millimeters, and the second gate for neutral and low range doesn't have to be perfectly exact, but that's inch. I set it to inch. Whoopsie. Did I accidentally hit? So we'll call that 45 millimeters, right? Not that I'm trying to use millimeters, but so 45 to 50. Now what's this? That's 40. Let's call it 45. And that's 55. Yeah, that is quite a bit different. All right, so just to kind of go over it. Oh. Yeah, just get that out of the way there. So front is roughly 50, and then back is roughly 45 for a total of 95. And then the front on this is 43 plus 55. 43 plus 55, that's for a total of what, 98? So that's 95. It's a 3 millimeter difference. But I would have to shave this down from here. Basically take the little bit of shaving off of here, add it to here. That way it'll only move over when you're in full time as opposed to part time. So interesting. Now this does look a lot wider. So I wonder if that's going to be a difference. I don't think it should be. All right, so it definitely is a Chrysler to Renix thing. I mean, I'm sure maybe at some point in the early 90s they changed it to this, but so this is from a 91, I believe. And this is from a 98. So you can see this is for a 231 as well because of this tab here. And so this is definitely thicker than this, but it should be. I don't see why it shouldn't be just as strong. I mean, unless you're literally just cranking on it from on the side. But I don't see why you should be doing that. But this was what was in the truck. So this is obviously from a 98, which again, it's like, okay, was this truck two-wheel drive? Again, no badges, no evidence of badges. So this is the old. See, I got it from Kenny Upol there. This was what I pulled out of the 91. and had the 231 in it as well. So rusty, I'm kind of mixing and matching. So the one that was in this truck, this shift gate from the 91 is in better condition than that shift gate. All right, so I got the shift gate modified. So we did the 50 for the front throw and 45 for the back. That should be pretty close enough for us to click it through. It doesn't have to be too precise, but I'm gonna let that primer dry, and then we'll get that in. So I'm swapping over the speed sensor because both of these are actually from like a 98. This one was from, I believe, a classic trim. Not that it matters, but the newer models have an actual sensor, as opposed to the older models, I better clean that off, having just a mechanical style. So obviously, this being an older truck, we need the mechanical. So looks pretty good in this new transmission. Actually, that fluid looks friggin' like real good. Yes, okay, so this is the 4-pin gear position indicator. Yeah, here's a close look at the difference between a rust belt and a non-rust belt. It's just dirty, you know. Anyway, I'll get those cleaned off and this buttoned up. Alright, so I guess I should mention about the alignment of this. Not that I'm a how-to guy. Do not take me as a how-to guy for this kind of stuff. Not Jeep stuff. Okay? Other stuff maybe, but not this. So there's only like 4 positions that this can go in, because these are little forks here, and there's indentations on this cap. So if you notice, this is actually off-center. So there's a little pedestal down there, right there. And if it would focus on it, it won't. There's also this gear, this worm gear, that it drives off of. So depending on the size of the gear you have, you'll need to clock it differently. But don't worry, there's only so many ways you can clock it. So it's not like you have to get a wrench and get it lined up there. But once it'll either not work or bind up. So I would start from the farthest position if you have a big one. But I know mine is a fairly small one for the tire size. I started at the top position, halfway kind of thing, and then moved the drive shaft a little bit. It wasn't moving, so I moved it in, and now it's moving. So fairly straightforward. Anyway, we got this stripped of the drive shaft. I think that's the same drive shaft as is in the truck. I'll have to measure them. But this is ready to go back in. I might clean it up a little bit first. But this is also ready, but gotta wait on the neighbor to come over, because it's a little bit hard to kind of align by yourself. So I might wait till the neighbors. See, I say this stuff, and then I don't do it. All right, got her a little bit cleaned up anyway. I'm probably not going to paint it, but I say that and then I paint it. So I want to show you guys kind of the difference between a 231 and a 242, in case you didn't know. The 242 option came in higher trim Cherokees and never really in a Comanche. They never came behind an AX15, apparently, or any manual transmission, because apparently they had some kind of driveline slack, or what's the proper term for that? Lash. So there'd be like some kind of clunk or something it didn't make a difference. It's just it felt different, I guess, enough for them to say that we're not gonna do this option or something like that. Doesn't matter. It's all in the past. 25 to 40 years ago or whatever. So Oh, geez, yeah, because they would have started making, not these or anything in 1984, but like 1984 was 40 years ago. Wow. Makes you think. But, so these had a few options for the driving. So you got two-wheel drive. So this is going to drive directly the rear. And then you got four-wheel drive part-time. So that's going to drive both of them. However, if you hold down, hopefully you guys can see this. All right. So if you hold down the input, wait a minute. All right. Hold on. Did I click that properly? Now it doesn't want to work when I want to show my friends. All right, so I had it in part-time. Part-time is fully locked. And then they've got full-time, which it drives both. However, if you hold one, the other still goes. So it kind of acts like an open differential between the front and rear axles. You could think of this the same way how a power divider in a between the front and rear of the axle set on a semi-truck. So you got the drive axles on a semi-truck, right? There is basically a power divider or a transfer case between them, which acts as a second or third differential between them, and you can have it unlocked to allow power to either or, whichever one has, whichever one is more able to spin, or you can lock it, just like this four-wheel drive part-time. So they're locked, so you can't move between them. So you got full-time, part-time. Full-time is good for rainy situations, but like pavement, snow, a little bit of ice, where it's like patches of pavement that you don't want to put the extra strain on your drive line, right? So then you've got, of course, neutral, that disconnects everything. And then you've got, of course, four-wheel drive low, which is a part-time, fully locked scenario. So there you have it, the NP242. And the 231 is basically the same thing. It's 14 pounds lighter. However, it doesn't have the full-time option, because I guess there's some other chain drive or something like that happens, fluid or something like that happens. That actually, I don't know how it works. Could be just a differential for all I know. I don't know. I've never looked inside of them. So that's just the way it works anyway. So get the gist of it. The 242. Let me turn this damn thing off. I'm warm enough. So the 242 apparently came in, like a heavy-duty version of it anyway, came in a Hummer. So these are actually fairly strong boxes. Some say that these are weaker than the 231s, but I think it's more of a replaceability. The 231s are more common. That's what I've been told to think anyway. So me personally, I've also heard the 242s are stronger than the 231s. It's a differing opinion. You could look at torque specs, and I don't know. The torque specs, I do believe, are lower for this. I don't know why, but some people say they're stronger as well, so either or. But, I mean, when's the last time I broke a transfer case? I'd rather have the full-time option. And these are getting hard to find, so I pick them out of junkyards, and wherever I can find them and afford them, I'll just grab them, and that way I can have a spare transfer case, because you never know when they're going to explode, right? So I'm not going to paint this. I got the spline greased. Totally not going to paint this because it won't match. It doesn't need to match like the rest of it. And again, like I said, I wasn't gonna, right? So I'm not gonna. What's this? Oh, well, this is just some, this is some red brake cleaner that I need to clean the nozzle on. That's all. Alright, so I did a little research, and apparently the 231 and 242 input seals are pretty much the same. There's a little bit of, like, some things say 230, like I looked on Rock Auto, basically is what I did. And it's like, okay, some things say 231, some things say 242, but then there's like a couple things that say either or. So I just kind of slipped this over here. It seems to slip over fairly tight, and it seems to be the same width as this. So I don't know really the best way to get this off. But I'm thinking a self-tapper right through it and then just pull it out. Some people just use like a screw, but I don't see why I can't use a self-tapper. I think there's supposed to be like a bearing behind there or something, but it's like, I mean, it's metal, right? So it shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe I will use a screw. Not a self-tapper. I don't know. I was just thinking it'd probably be faster with a self-tapper, but I gotta find a screw. I guess one of these would probably do. Yeah, alright. Alright. Well, that worked. Just pulled it out like that, and there we have it. Hopefully no metal shavings go out. One or two, maybe. Let's see if I can get those cleaned out. Oh yeah, there's the bearing in there. Installed. Perfect fit. Just use this tiny little soft mallet. It's got a lead shaker in there. It's a dead blow. And it seemed to work perfectly. So I'm not going to worry about it now. I don't know if there was like a sealer on this, but I think there's already like kind of like a plastic coating or of some kind on that. Then that's probably just kind of what pulled off when this came out, because there was no sealer on the actual sealing surface. So all right, I guess it's time for install now. Also, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with the gear position sensor for this. So I've seen online that they have 3 blades. There's three wires going to it. Then there's 2 wires going to it in some models, and then this one has 4, so I don't know what's going on. There's like 2 wires on the Comanche of some kind, but then this has this connector here, which obviously they just, like I don't know what's going on here with this. What color are these wires? Where are they going? It looks like it's maybe, is this the neutral or the reverse light pigtail, or what's going on here? Because this goes up to that main loom there, ties into that. So it kind of it kind of looks factory, especially judging by the colors of the wires. But then I was reading online that you have to, unless this is like a newer Cherokee wiring harness, which I wouldn't be surprised, because this is it says 90 on this block, so I'm assuming that's a 1990 motor, from probably a 91 Cherokee. So, but I could have swore this was going to the transfer case as well. Like it's got the space and the length for that. Am I missing? I think I'm missing a wire here somewhere for this, because this should have the reverse sensor for the rear lights. Well, doesn't that just look nice? Even with so we got the red oil pan, red transmission, red transfer case. Man, that looks sweet. They're rebuilt. But the guy didn't give me a receipt. You know, I trusted him. And yeah, so then there's this connector here. Like where does that even go? But mainly, I was trying to find this. There's supposed to be a connector for the like a main connector, something like this or this. Actually, it could be this one. For the there's a couple dead connections in it for the 4-wheel drive light, the part-time and full-time. So I'm gonna try and find that, but man, I don't know what. Like I say, I don't know what happened with like the rust. I've been kind of taking some steel wool, and it cleans right off. But it's like what was sitting in here? It's like there was some kind of black tea in here. It's just strange. So I've been doing a little bit of investigation into the switches and the connectors that I will need to be looking at here. So we have, this is for the 4-liter Comanche under that tab on Rock Auto. So if you look, it mysteriously does list a 242 series transfer case switch under Comanche, but I don't think our trucks ever came with that. Either way, that's an electric switch, and what's crazy is the 231 is a vacuum switch. A 4-pin vacuum switch. Or a 4-post or whatever you call 4-tube. And then the 242 connector or switch is a 2-pin plug. Mysteriously, I'm going to add that to cart. Mysteriously, it is incredibly similar, and notice the part number 600-552 for Dorman. If we scroll up to the 231 series transfer case switch for a 98 Cherokee, it is 600-551. So it's like almost the exact same. However, I would have to say that I would still rather just buy the switch for the 242. But whatever. So the new switches, this new switch anyway for the 242 on the 98 model. I don't know if that. See that looks like a. That looks like a 2 or 3 pin terminal quantity 4. Okay, so that would be what we have now then. So we obviously probably can't use that because I found this forum post. So this guy's saying that it's a 2-pin. It's a 2-pin for the NP242. Like into the wiring harness, right? And so we go down here. So this guy posted this connector is somewhere behind the right-hand shock tower, and it contains the 2 wires for part-time and full-time. So I assume what's happening, what would happen is the connections would be like the switch would connect them, and it would be reversing polarity. I don't know how all that fancy stuff works, but somebody else posted the connector that we might need, and he said that there's a switch just like tucked up behind the way somewhere for a 242. But he might be. I'm thinking he's talking about a Cherokee, but I don't know. He does have a Comanche in his picture. So I'm wondering if that is just like this guy says. There's just the 2 wires for the reverse switch and the plug on the T case. I got, yeah, okay. So I'm wondering if that plug that I have, because it's a 4-pin, if that also contains the 2 wires necessary for the transfer case. Now, also this is under the 98 Cherokee. It has this weird separate tab for 4-wheel drive switch. Look here, cat. What do you think you're doing? Has this, and that says 4-wheel drive switch indicator lamp with 2 terminals for mating connector use. PTA 1174, which brings us to this backup reverse lamp switch connector for, what is it, $1.91. So I don't know. I mean, that says for a 98. So I don't know. I don't even know what's going on. What do you think you're doing, you? Get out of here. All right. So, thanks to Cruiser 54, if I can get back to his website here. Unfortunately, I guess the guy died recently, like in May. But he put out this this lovely website, and it's still up, cruiser54.com, with a whole bunch of helpful links and technical manuals, and I'm going to go through quite a bit of this. So I downloaded the 1990 version of the field service manual, running down to where it said 4-wheel drive indicator light. Now, hopefully there's a couple of references in here for that. So down here it says, for the command track, part-time indicator lights when the vehicle is engaged in 4-wheel drive mode. Voltage is provided to one side of the indicator. A switch in the transfer case area is connected to the other side of the indicator. When the switch is closed, a path to ground is provided in the indicator lights. And for select track, the 4-wheel drive indicator lights when the vehicle is engaged in full-time 4-wheel drive mode. The part-time indicator lights when the vehicle is in part-time 4-wheel drive mode. Voltage is provided to one side of the indicators. Switches in the transfer case area are connected to the other side of the indicator. When a switch is closed, a path to ground is provided and the indicator lights. So I don't really know how to understand that, but I'm going to look for a few more references, but I figured I'd just point that out. So part-time or 4-wheel drive indicator inoperative. Parking brake on, engine running, vehicle in 4-wheel drive, lock or 4-wheel drive. Unplug switch. So to test it, unplug the switch and touch harness side of wire to ground. If it's okay, the lamp lights. Check switch operation, replace if bad. Or it's the bulb it's saying. Repair open to indicator. Okay. So this is pretty sweet. I found some of the wiring diagrams. So, I mean, you can pause the video if you want to take a look. Looks like that's a lot of the XJ stuff. We got now, okay, now we got MJ. So that's, wait, anti-lock, okay, we don't need that. MJ. Alright, so it says this little connector here. See if I can kind of zoom in on the pixels, because I don't know where that's coming from. It says the four-wheel drive switch, but I don't know what that means, because I know they used to have on these old Jeeps like a weird front axle vacuum disconnect thing. Everybody deletes it, so I don't know if that's got to do with that or not. Alright, so apparently I was looking at the 2.5 diagram, but here's the, it's probably the same four-wheel drive switch up there. So it looks like the four-wheel drive switch is different from the transmission auto manual. Those look like the connector that goes down to those two white wires that I have. So this might be useful. Here's the color code chart. I don't know exactly how that applies. Alright, so this appears to be the connector that came down for the backup lamp switch. So it looks like definitely the, what is it, black yellow? I don't know what code that is, whatever it is. I'm sure that's the actual, because it's only using the two pins for that, right? But what do the other ones do? It doesn't look like it lists them. I don't know. Maybe I'm not reading this right. Alright, I think we're beginning to solve the mystery. So, the guy said on that forum post, the red and black wires, which is an H, as you can see, that's actually labeled H. According also to the diagram that was on another forum post, that somehow I couldn't really find in the factory service manual. H is the part-time light, and then E, which is the yellow-black wire, is the full-time light. Can you see the E there? Well, there's an E here. There's an E. So, I notice on this side, we do not have E. But we do have H, which is also a red and black wire. However, if we come down here to whatever this is, we have like a pink and black, and then we have a brown. Or like a gray and brown, or black and brown, or something. We have the yellow. Oh, wait, there's some. Oh, okay. So there's some letters on there. Yeah, I don't know. But there's no other connector for anything. So, unless it's tucked away here somewhere, but I can't find anything, man. I found out this is actually for what used to be an underhood light. So maybe I'll reuse this someday. Looks like there's a engine mount bolt that is missing a nut. Engine mount bolt that is missing a nut. Like what? What's going on there? I don't think that goes all the way through, but I don't know. Alright. Mystery solved. That's where the black wire goes. Well, the black and red wire. Yeah. That's it right there. So this is our part-time light, I guess. I don't know, like I have no idea. I'm going to have to look into this other connector here and find out what those other two terminals are, because I couldn't even find it in the service manual. It's probably something to do with an automatic transmission, but I don't know what I don't know what I want to do with Yeah, because I seen people what I've seen people do. I think it was Waymid that did it. He just cut on this side of the wire rather than try and route it through the connector. I doubt I'll be able to easily find. Man, the focus is terrible. I doubt I'll be able to easily find these pins that I could just rip out and put in. However, if I'm able to find like a parts Jeep, I'll just rip out one of these connectors. But that, I wouldn't be able to do that anytime soon. That's the only thing. And I'm probably going to have this Comanche on the road in like 2 weeks. So, that would leave me with this splicing into here. Unless I do have another parts Jeep, but it's a 2001, so I don't know that there's actually going to be a connector like this with pins like this, because this is all Renix wiring. This is like, yeah, some people literally have gone to the trouble of rewiring a whole entire engine wiring harness just to get rid of all this mess. No wonder Chrysler bought them. It's a shame because, I mean, Comanche and the Cherokees are really good vehicles. Like, they're among some of the best vehicles ever made, if not the best. I wouldn't, well, the best is very debatable, but nonetheless, it's just a shame everything. It's funny, it's crazy too, because the 4-liter was never designed to go in the Comanches or the Cherokees. It literally was designed for use in the Wranglers, and I think it was the big SJs as well. But they put it in here. Chrysler put it in here in '87, because I guess Chrysler bought AMC in '87, and then they started putting the 4-liters in here. But they had to do this cutout on the firewall to even be able to fit it, because previously it was just like a GM V6 2.8 or the 2.5 or a couple of I think it was 2.1 Renault diesel option or something like that. There was a couple oddball engines that they had in these that were, none of them were reliable. So if you're looking at like a pre-87 or pre-86, unless it's the 2.5, probably not very good. Maybe I'll like pull apart where that other little thing. I gotta do research. Man, this has been a rabbit hole trying to find what wires do what on this. Cost me hours of labor, internet labor. All right, so it appears the ECU sends the pink PK star, weird. But it's like black, light blue with that's the connector, I'm sure of it. Right hand rear of engine. I don't know. What's that? It's weird symbol there. But it appears to be an upshift indicator. But I don't understand where this connector comes in yet. Maybe you're just supposed to jump it. Because this says rear right hand of engine, and this comes from the right hand shock tower connectors that has the same E and H wire as our 4-wheel drive indicator lights. So that comes down from there. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like those are just kind of, they just kind of dead end there. I don't know. I'm not. I don't understand how to read circuit diagrams really, but it kind of seems like that's what's happening. Weird. Oh shoot. The XJ that I'm gonna look for connectors on is all full of snow. Well, metal bladed shovel will fix that. Check it out. I want to show you this. I thought some of you guys might think it's cool. Yeah. It's a half of an MJ cab. It's even got probably a dealer installed sunroof, but it's like fairly well done. Like they even got like painted over it and everything. Sliding glass. It's even got seat belts in it. It's actually more to this than I thought. Crusty old visor. Oh, even connectors. Oh, it looks like this one, oh. That's weird, because the jack instructions on the other truck aren't the same. Like, they're on a different board. Looks like there's some connectors over there. I don't know what those go to. I wouldn't want to steal any of these anyway, because I might want them. Those look like bigger ones, but they're definitely the right style. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell why, but yeah, she's a little far gone. Of course, I suppose I could just cut it up and hook it to a truck frame or something. Ooh, nice mouse nest. Yeah, this is pretty rough, this thing, I'll tell you what. What am I looking for again? Connector. Pin style. Probably something like this. No, wrong pins. Wrong pins. Might as well put that back in there in case I need it later. For the other XJ. Yeah, I kind of doubt there actually might be those style of pins without like digging too deep, but maybe I'll take a look around here. All right, well, the other XJ is I've decided to stop looking on it because I didn't want to get hantavirus. But I figure what I'll do, I'll just get, maybe I'll like just kind of stick the wire through and like tape it down here, because I guess it kind of looks like you can kind of pull this blue up and that'll release the wires, because it looks like there's just kind of a, man, this camera, I tell you, looks like there's just kind of like a plug in there. Yeah, you can kind of just see that plug in there. Because you can't see my finger on the other side, so obviously that's a plug. For obvious reasons. So yeah, I'll probably just stick a wire through and kind of solder the of course, then again, what's it got on this side? Yeah, okay, so these are actual little things that'll kind of hold them. So what I'll do is I'll solder the wire and kind of shape it into a point that'll go into here, and then I guess I'll test it. I could I wonder if I could find a spade. I was doing some research and I found there's probably a normal connector, like a brand new connector that I can get for this straight from Rock Auto. So I'll update you on that. It even has the ABCD on it. Because I figure maybe what happened with the previous owner is when they installed the new transmission, and just as I'm seeing now, there is a missing bolt. Huh. No matter. I'll look at that in a minute. But geez, man, bolts missing everywhere. But wherever that connector went to before, they either threw away, because it would have had a manual transmission in it. I think in '89 because they didn't have the floor shift automatic, they would have probably still had the column shift. But please update me on that. I don't know when they switched that over, but I don't think this would have been a floor shift. Not that matters too much, because that connector, the two wires are for the backup lights, and then the other two, I'm thinking there was like a male side to that connector that had just a jump from one wire to the other for that upshift indicator light. So whatever was going on there, maybe they lost it or something, I don't know. Or it just went with the other transmission. Forgot to mention I had to borrow a stud off of the old 231 there to fit onto it. I think it's time that I just need to bite the bullet, get this in, because I'm kind of running out of other things to do waiting on those parts. So yeah, I think I might try and do a few more things before it, but if I can do this today or tomorrow, because the parts won't come in till Monday, because that way I can get this topped up, get the engine topped up, and start working on some of the other things that I need to do. Like I need to fix the interior dome lights, and the horn doesn't work, and the four-way flashers don't work, so I got to figure all that out, see what's going on. There's also an idle issue, so it goes like it'll idle normal, and then it'll go right down to like 200 RPM for a little bit. I've been looking into it. I initially thought it was like an exhaust leak issue, but it's turning out to be more like it could be throttle position sensor, idle air sensor being dirty kind of thing, or it could be just like a bad ground somewhere. It's more than likely a bad ground somewhere. These Renix Jeeps, they do some funky stuff when it comes to grounds. I haven't got the sensors or anything like that yet, but I figure, well, I'd rather just get this up and get it done, and I can break my fingers off later. But I don't know what is going on. Why is this stupid cable so long? Like, is it supposed to route like around the engine or something? So, I don't know, but it's yeah, like there's everything wrong with this cable and no explanation. Alright, so we got the transmission supported. We got some of those bolts torqued. I wanted, because this sandwiches onto the frame, I wanted to get some grease on there. That's just some regular bearing grease. It's actually extremely good rust protection. Like, you would be surprised. I put some bearing grease up under the wheel well where there was a seam on the Cherokee. Like last year, it's still there. So it's really good. Just trying to get this jacked up. I think I'm gonna have, because those wheels are still still forward there quite a bit, even though they have moved back a little bit here, but I might have to get somebody to kind of roll them while I jack and align and all that. So, seen Dex using straps to get things all lined up properly, and I thought, gee, that's a pretty good idea. So that's exactly what I done, either side. And now we have bolts lined up. So what I'm going to do from here, get that jack moved up a little bit, get those bolts lined up, set a couple of nuts down in there. Of course, I'm going to use the I'm going to use the old jack stand because safety. Then we're going to lift it up by the transmission mount. If it's too, it shouldn't be too bad to lift it up like that. I mean, that's a brand new transmission mount. Well, new in the last 5-10 years, anyway. So, I mean, figure, man, if it can hold the transmission up, it can hold the 3-link and the transmission. Goodness. Yeah, I don't know. Man, that cable's just, it's getting my goat. What the heck? I might have to just I might have to try and find another cable. I heard that in order, like, when you replace the transmission, now a lot of people have had problems with the AX15 bell housings cracking. And I don't want that issue. So I'm going to try my best. There's one more bolt I need to replace there as well, but don't let me forget. So I've heard when you bolt this up, just leave those bolts a little bit snug, but not tight. Don't tighten them. Like for these bolts, and I'm going to say I might as well do it on the transmission mount as well. Just leave them like, just hand tight. Take it around the field. Take the Jeep around the field, and then tighten them down. Something to do with just letting everything line up the way it wants to, which kind of makes sense to me, because if you tighten everything down and it's just a little bit out from where it wants to be, that can put a lot of stress on the whole drive line, and the weakest component would be probably the bell housing, right? That's just the way I see it right now. I could change my mind, as I'm sure you've noticed I've probably done with probably every video or every 20 minutes in the videos. So, yes, that's what I'm going to do anyway, is just leave them hand tight, so don't let me forget to tighten them back down, because I don't want my transmission and transfer case and Jeep in the ditch. So, alright. So, that little bolt, or that little nut that was up in there, I don't know if it was, holy smokes, we're getting some wind. I don't know if it was, like welded in before, but I welded it in now, best I could anyway, just to kind of tack it down. Went over, brushed some of this crap off, got the galvanizing under it. There we go. She's installed. Unfortunately, that nut that I tried to weld in there broke free, but I was able to kind of grab it and get her down in there nice and straight, so that's actually great. I think there's a little bit on the side of the nut that stops when it hits something, like the other side of the weld that broke or whatever. I know there's another piece on this side or something like that, but might have actually still helped anyway. But the linkage on this is going to be very very strange, because we have the AX15 mounted to an NP242. So this is just it's an ASSI linkage, just like the Chinese knockoff version of it. There is supposed to be an extension plate on the top there. However, I think it still works pretty much fine with this setup. There is a tab. See if I can get you in there. See that tab that I had to bend down? Not the outer one, but the middle one there. And then I had to flatten that tab on the right in order for that to fit, and that gave me about another inch of clearance. And then, of course, so that's just kind of how that's mounted. See, not a lot of people really show you how the dang thing's mounted. They just explain it to you. So I didn't actually end up having to adjust the length of that cross piece, but I'll have to tighten all that up anyway. We have two-wheel drive, where the front shaft can spin, but not the rear. And I've already gone and tested it, but four high part-time, and then 4 full-time, and then neutral, and then 4 low. Now, the 4 low, it doesn't want to go back. It goes into 4 low. Now this is just a problem with, I guess, probably the extension piece. You seen it go. It went into 4 low easily, right? But it doesn't want to come back out. However, just give it a little pop, and it comes right out. So there. Just jerk it a little bit. I mean, I'm rarely ever going to be using 4 low anyway, so that's fine. Just a little extra pop. So I'll show you. We got part-time. See that pinion's moving. Obviously, the rear. I don't know if you can tell, but the rear is budging. Of course, it's going to be. I think it's in gear, so it's going to be trying to move the engine. Filled the transmission and transfer case because I was letting that paint cure. So I used Redline MTL and ATF NP242 switch for the updated style. And then here's the old style. So this is just a standard style plug. These are widely available on Rock Auto. They're like a WeatherTech or Weather Seal plug. You'll want the male plug because the sensor is female. Alright, so we are going to be using a green wire for the full-time light and a white wire for the part-time light. This little blue piece right here, this just kind of pulls off, and you'll be able to see the nub of this this little plug, the little weather plug. You'll be able to see the left side of that. You see that left side's all weathered there. So you just grab some needle nose, pull that out, and now if we look down in here, we should be able to see that there's a little kind of catch, like a ratcheting style catch. And I think what we're gonna have to do is to thread the wire down through this way. So I've taken one end and I've twisted the wire and then I soldered it. So it's kind of like a pin. I'm hoping that it'll fit in if I kind of push it in, and it'll make contact in there. So we'll see about this, and I'll get that hooked up. I ended up having to use a completely stripped wire, about I don't know, 2 inches long would probably do it. And then I just soldered the tip on it, pushed it into that pin hole, and then ran it through, and then soldered it to the green wire, and snipped, of course, the black and red wire, soldered it to the white wire, and then kind of did my own DIY loom here, and ran it down. I hooked it up to the transfer case with the connector that I got, and then but I'm not sure which wire on the actual switch works which light, so I'm just gonna wire it. I just wired it up loose. Well, it's like this anyway. Just wired it up loose. That way, you know, if it doesn't function properly, I'll just switch it and then I'll solder it and get everything hooked up permanently. So this is for the backup light. So again, don't know really which one goes to which. It probably doesn't matter as much for the reverse light, but I don't know. Anyway, and then this is just a jump from this. So this works the upshift indicator. So normally this would go to the automatic transmission, but this is of course a manual, so they just jump it on this side. So once your revs get so high, then it shows you an upshift indicator. We are at a monumental point now in the build. So we've got the old battery connected to just a jump box for now. These things are great. Noco, man, those are, it sounds like some kind of Amazon brand, but it's not. This is actually a really high quality. I think they may even be made in America. I wish I got a bigger one though, because I need to start my 7.3 from time to time. But anyway, I think we just press this button, hold it down, and there. So if we get our, so this one actually, so I have a Jeep key, and then I have a GM key, and I believe the GM key is actually what starts this one, because this is a GM steering column and system lock. Moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't catch fire. Oh, we got part-time light on. We got an upshift light. So what about part-time light went out, and there we have a full-time light. Dude, that's so awesome. Part-time, and it's not going off of part-time for two-wheel drive. Because it goes off in neutral. But that is so cool. Look at that. In a Comanche. Yeah, I'm not seeing any reverse lights, but I'm also not seeing any brake lights, so I am seeing a clock, which is strange. Okay. Got some signals acting weird. Alright, so something's definitely messed up in the hazard system and the brake light system. So we can tell the part-time when I press the brake. See how that dims just a little bit? So, alright, well, I don't know exactly what to do about this now, but man, that is so cool. Maybe I'll just try quickly reversing that backup light switch thing and see if that does anything. We have the same issue with this light. However, I've got it stuck in reverse, and that side works, and that side works. So, that's great. I don't know if maybe they didn't work before. They're a lot dimmer than I thought they would be. I know actually that the brake lights work, But I can't tell if that side's working without actually having somebody stand there. Oh, there's the headlights. Sweet. There. Those two. And those two. Sweet! Friggin' awesome. This is monumental, man. So the question now... So... The signal's not working. Thought I heard something clicking, but I don't know if that's... anything. No. Alright, now what about high beams, low beams seem to cycle properly. What about... Oh, is that... Oh, okay, so the hazard light was on. Boy, is that ever a slow signal. That's slower than a freaking Mac. Oh no, wait, that's the hazard. Okay. Which was weird because the last time I drove this truck, the hazard lights didn't work. But now it's the signals that don't work. What the heck? Well, I guess I'm going to have to look into getting that fixed.